This is what I heard. At one time, the Buddha was staying at Anathapindika's monastery in Jeta Grove, in the city of Shravasti. He was together with a great assembly of monks, 1,250 in all. It was nearly time to eat. The world-honored one put on his robe, took up his bowl, and walked into the great city of Shravasti to collect alms. He received food in order throughout the city, then returned to the monastery. After eating, he put away his robe and bowl, washed his feet, arranged his seat, and sat down. At that moment, the elder Subhuti arose from his seat in the assembly. He bared his right shoulder, placed his right knee on the ground, and pressed his palms together respectfully. He said to the Buddha, "World-honored one, how rare and wonderful. The Tathagata cares well for all bodhisattvas and guides and instructs all who practice the way. World-honored one, when good men and good women give rise to the mind of an Uttara Samyak Sambodhi, how should they dwell in it? How should they subdue their wandering minds?" The Buddha replied, well asked, Subhuti. It is as you say. Listen carefully. I will explain it to you. Subhuti said, "Yes, world-honored one. I am glad to hear you teach." The Buddha said to Subhuti, all bodhisattvas and mahasattvas should subdue their wandering minds in this way. Among all living beings, those born from eggs, those born from wombs, those born from moisture, those born by transformation, those with form and those without form, those with perception, those without perception, and those neither with nor without perception. I lead all of them to the unconditioned nirvana of complete liberation. Yet in truth, not a single being has been liberated. Why? Subhuti, if a bodhisattva holds the idea of a self, a person, a being, or a lifespan, that one is not truly a bodhisattva. The Buddha continued, Subhuti, a bodhisattva should practice generosity without dwelling on anything, giving without clinging to form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or mental objects. A bodhisattva should give in this way, without clinging to any mark. Why? If giving is done without clinging to any mark, the merit is immeasurable. Subhuti, what do you think? Can the space of the eastern direction be measured? Subhuti replied, No, world-honored one. The Buddha said, Can the space of all 10 directions be measured? Subhuti replied, No, world-honored one. The Buddha said, Subhuti, the merit of a bodhisattva who gives without clinging to any mark is equally immeasurable. Subhuti, a bodhisattva should dwell only as I have taught. The Buddha said, Subhuti, can the Tathagata be seen through his physical form? Subhuti replied, No, world-honored one. The Tathagata cannot be seen through his physical form. The form you speak of is not truly form. That is why it is called form. The Buddha said, Wherever there are marks, there is illusion. See that all marks are not marks, and you see the Tathagata. Subhuti asked the Buddha, World-honored one, will there truly be beings who hear these words and give rise to genuine faith? The Buddha said, Do not say that. Even after I am gone, 500 years hence, those who keep the precepts and cultivate merit will encounter even one verse of this sutra and believe it completely. Know that such people have planted deep roots of goodness, not with just 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 Buddhas, but with countless Buddhas. When they hear, even one verse of this sutra, their minds become pure and undisturbed. Subhuti. I see and know all such beings of pure faith completely. They gain immeasurable and boundless merit. Why? Because they have left behind the idea of a self, a person, a being, and a lifespan. They hold neither the idea of a Dharma nor the idea of no Dharma. Why? If the mind clings to a mark, it is clinging to self, person, being, and lifespan. Clinging to a Dharma is the same. Clinging to no Dharma is equally clinging. Therefore, a bodhisattva should neither cling to Dharma nor to no Dharma. For this reason, I have always said, monks, know that my teaching is like a raft. When you reach the other shore, you leave even the raft behind. Even the Dharma must be let go of. How much more so what is not the Dharma? The Buddha said, Subhuti, what do you think? Has the Tathagata attained Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi? Does the Tathagata teach a fixed Dharma? Subhuti replied, as I understand what you have said, there is no fixed Dharma called Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, nor is there any fixed Dharma the Tathagata teaches. Why? The Dharma the Tathagata teaches cannot be grasped and cannot be spoken. It is neither a Dharma nor a non-Dharma. So it is that all sages and noble ones are distinguished by their understanding of the unconditioned. The Buddha said, Subhuti, if someone filled the 3,000-fold world system with the 7 treasures and gave them all away, would that person's merit be great? Subhuti replied, very great, world-honored one. Yet such merit is conditioned. In terms of worldly reward, you rightly call it great. The Buddha said, if another person receives and upholds even 4 lines of this sutra and teaches them to others, that person's merit far surpasses the first. Why? Subhuti, from this sutra all Buddhas arise, and from it the teaching of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi comes forth. But Subhuti, what I call the Buddha Dharma, is not the Buddha Dharma. The Buddha said, Subhuti, does a stream enterer think, I have attained the fruit of stream entry? Subhuti replied, no, world-honored one. A stream enterer does not think this. Why? Stream entry means entering the stream, yet there is nothing entered, no clinging to form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or mental objects. That is why one is called a stream enterer. The Buddha said, does a once returner think, I have attained the fruit of once returning? Subhuti replied, no, world-honored one. Why? Though once returning means going and coming once more, in truth there is no going and coming. The Buddha said, does a non-returner think, I have attained the fruit of non-returning? Subhuti replied, no, world-honored one. Why? Non-returning means not returning to the desire realm, yet in truth there is no mark of non-returning. The Buddha said, does an arhat think, I have attained arhatship? Subhuti replied, no, world-honored one. Why? There is no fixed Dharma called arhat. If an arhat thought, I have attained arhatship, that would be clinging to a self, a person, a being, and a lifespan. World-honored one, you have said that I dwell in the samadhi of non-contention, and that I am foremost among those who dwell in peace. Yet I do not think I am an arhat free of desire. If I thought that way, you would not have said that I love peaceful abiding, because I act on nothing. That is why you call me a lover of stillness. The Buddha said, Subhuti, when the Tathagata was in the presence of Dipankara Buddha, did he receive any Dharma? Subhuti replied, "No, world-honored one. In truth, you received nothing." The Buddha said, "Subhuti, does a bodhisattva adorn a Buddha land?" Subhuti replied, "No, world-honored one. Why? What is called adorning a Buddha land is not truly adorning. That is only a name." The Buddha said, "Therefore, Subhuti, all bodhisattvas and mahasattvas should give rise to a pure mind in this way, a mind that does not dwell in form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or mental objects. They should give rise to a mind that dwells nowhere. Subhuti, if a person had a body as great as Mount Sumeru, would you say that body is large?" Subhuti replied, "Very large, world-honored one. Yet such a body, which arises and ceases, cannot be called the truly great body. It is only called great by convention." The Buddha said, "Subhuti, suppose there were as many Ganges rivers as there are grains of sand in the Ganges. Would the total grains of sand in all those rivers be many?" Subhuti replied, "Immeasurably many, world-honored one. The rivers alone would be countless, to say nothing of all their sand." The Buddha said, "Subhuti, I tell you truly, if a good man or good woman filled world systems as numerous as those grains of sand with the 7 treasures and gave them all away, would the merit be great?" Subhuti replied, "Very great, world-honored one." The Buddha said, "But if a good man or good woman receives and upholds even 4 lines of this sutra and teaches them to others, that merit surpasses all of that." The Buddha continued, "Subhuti, wherever this sutra is taught, even 4 lines of it, that place should be honored by all in the world, by gods, humans, and asuras, as they would honor a stupa or shrine of the Buddha. How much more so when someone fully receives, upholds, reads, and recites this sutra? You should know, Subhuti, that such a person accomplishes something rare and wonderful, the highest teaching of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Wherever this sutra is present, the Buddha and his noble disciples are present. All should give reverence." At that moment, Subhuti asked, "World-honored one, what name should be given to this sutra? How should we receive and uphold it?" The Buddha said, "This sutra is called the Diamond Prajna Paramita. By that name, you should receive and uphold it." Why this name? Subhuti. What the Tathagata calls Prajna Paramita is not Prajna Paramita. That is why it is called Prajna Paramita. Subhuti, does the Tathagata teach a Dharma? Subhuti replied, "World-honored one, the Tathagata has nothing fixed to teach." The Buddha said, "Subhuti, are the dust particles in the 3,000-fold world system many?" Subhuti replied, "Very many, world-honored one." The Buddha said, "What the Tathagata calls dust particles are not truly dust particles. They are only called dust particles. What the Tathagata calls the world is not truly a world. It is only called the world." Subhuti, can the Tathagata be seen through the 32 marks? Subhuti replied, "No, world-honored one. The 32 marks are not true marks. That is why they are called the 32 marks." The Buddha said, "Subhuti, if a good man or good woman gave as many lives as there are grains of sand in the Ganges, and another person received and upheld even 4 lines of this sutra and taught them to others, the merit of the second far surpasses that of the first." At that moment, Subhuti heard the Buddha speak. He understood deeply and was moved to tears. He said, "World-honored one, how rare and wonderful is this teaching. I have had the wisdom eye for a long time, yet I have never heard a sutra as profound as this. When someone hears this sutra with a pure and faithful mind, free of all clinging, that person gives rise to the true mark of reality. I know that such a person achieves something rare and wonderful. But, world-honored one, this true mark is not truly a mark. That is why the Tathagata calls it the true mark. World-honored one, I have heard this sutra and I can receive and uphold it. That is not difficult for me. But in the age of the last 500 years, in the turbid world of the final Dharma, if a being hears this sutra and can receive, believe, and uphold it, that person will be truly rare. Why? Because that person will have no idea of a self, a person, a being, or a lifespan. The idea of a self is not real. The ideas of a person, a being, and a lifespan are equally not real. Having left behind all marks, their mind becomes still. Such a one is called a Buddha. The Buddha said to Subhuti, "Just so, just so." If someone hears this sutra and does not tremble, is not afraid, and is not shaken, that person is truly rare. Why, Subhuti? What the Tathagata calls the foremost paramita is not the foremost paramita. That is why it is called the foremost paramita. Subhuti, the Tathagata speaks of the paramita of patient endurance. Patient endurance is not patient endurance. That is why it is called patient endurance. Why? Subhuti, when the king of Kalinga cut away my flesh piece by piece, I had no idea of a self, a person, a being, or a lifespan. If at that time I had clung to such ideas, I would have given rise to anger and hatred. Subhuti, I also recall my past 500 lives as a sage practicing patient endurance. In each life, I was already free of the ideas of self, person, being, and lifespan. We see from this that practice is not the work of a single moment. Therefore, Subhuti, a bodhisattva should leave behind all marks and give rise to the mind of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Do not give rise to a mind that dwells in form. Do not give rise to a mind that dwells in sound, smell, taste, touch, or mental objects. Give rise to a mind that dwells nowhere. If the mind dwells on something, it cannot be free. That is why the Tathagata says a bodhisattva should not dwell in form when giving. Subhuti, for the benefit of all beings, a bodhisattva should give in this way, without clinging to any mark. What the Tathagata calls marks are not marks. What he calls beings are not beings. Subhuti, the Tathagata speaks truly, without deception, consistently, without contradiction. The Dharma the Tathagata has realized is neither real nor empty. Subhuti, if a bodhisattva's mind clings to a Dharma when giving, that person is like one who enters a dark room. They cannot see. If a bodhisattva's mind does not cling to a Dharma when giving, that person is like one whose eyes are open in sunlight. They see all forms clearly. Subhuti, in times to come, if good men and good women receive, uphold, read, and recite this sutra, the Tathagata will know them fully with his Buddha wisdom. Such persons will achieve immeasurable and boundless merit. The Buddha said, Subhuti, if a good man or good woman gave lives equal to the grains of sand in the Ganges, 3 times each day, morning, midday, and evening, across hundreds of thousands of millions of kalpas, the merit would be great. Yet if someone hears this sutra and does not turn away from it, that merit surpasses the first. How much greater still the merit of one who writes it, reads it, recites it, and explains it to others. Subhuti, to state it simply, the merit from this sutra is beyond calculation and beyond limit. This sutra is the supreme path of the great vehicle. I teach it for those of great capacity, for those of the very highest aspiration, those who receive, uphold, read, recite, and explain this sutra. I know them completely and see them fully. Such persons bear the Tathagata's teaching. Yet those whose aspiration is not yet fully ripened, clinging to the ideas of self, person, being, and lifespan, they cannot hear this sutra, receive it, or explain it to others. Subhuti. Wherever this sutra is taught, all gods, humans, and spirits will come to honor that place. Know that wherever this sutra is present is like the presence of a stupa. All should bow in reverence, circle it, and offer flowers and incense. The Buddha continued, Subhuti, if a good man or good woman receives, upholds, reads, and recites this sutra, and yet is scorned and looked down upon by others, know that this person carries karma from past lives that would have led to rebirth in the lower realms. But because of upholding this sutra, that heavy karma is dissolved. They will attain Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Subhuti, I recall that in past ages, across countless kalpas before I met Dipankara Buddha, I served and made offerings to numberless Buddhas without exception. Yet if someone in a future age receives and upholds this sutra, the merit they earn surpasses my merit from all those offerings many times over. Subhuti, if good men and women receive, uphold, read, and recite this sutra in the final age, the merit they gain is immeasurable. Were I to describe it fully, some might become confused and others might doubt. They might dismiss my words. Subhuti, know that this sutra carries meaning too deep to measure, and its fruit is too great to fathom. At that moment, Subhuti asked, World-honored one, when good men and women give rise to the mind of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, how should they dwell in it? How should they subdue their wandering minds? The Buddha said, they should think in this way, I shall lead all beings to complete liberation. Yet when all beings have been liberated, in truth not a single being has been liberated. Why? If a bodhisattva holds the idea of a self, a person, a being, or a lifespan, that one is not a bodhisattva. And why is that, Subhuti? Because there is in truth no Dharma by which one gives rise to the mind of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. The Buddha said, Subhuti, when the Tathagata was with Dipankara Buddha, did he receive any Dharma of awakening? Subhuti replied, No, world-honored one. There is no Dharma by which to receive the mind of awakening. It arises entirely from one's own nature. The Buddha said, Just so. Subhuti, if there were any Dharma by which the Tathagata attained Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, Dipankara Buddha would not have predicted, in a future life you will become a Buddha named Shakyamuni. Because in truth there is no such Dharma, Dipankara Buddha gave that prediction freely. Why? Tathagata means reality as it truly is. If anyone says the Tathagata has obtained Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, know there is no Dharma by which that is obtained. The Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi I have realized is neither real nor empty. That is why I say all Dharmas are Buddha Dharma. But Subhuti, what are called all Dharmas are not all Dharmas. That is only a name. Subhuti, it is like a large human body. Subhuti said, World-honored one, what you call a large body is not truly great. It arises and ceases. That is only called great. The Buddha said, Subhuti, so it is with a bodhisattva. If a bodhisattva says, I shall liberate countless beings, that one is not a bodhisattva. Why? There is no real entity called a bodhisattva. Therefore the Buddha says all dharmas have no self, no person, no being, no lifespan. and all such dharmas are naturally Buddha Dharma. Subhuti, if a bodhisattva says, "I shall adorn the Buddha land," that one is not a bodhisattva. Why? What is called adorning the Buddha land is not truly adorning. That is only a name. Subhuti, one who sees through the absence of self in all dharmas. That is what the Tathagata calls a true bodhisattva. The Buddha said, "Subhuti, does the Tathagata have the physical eye?" "Yes, world-honored one." "Does the Tathagata have the heavenly eye?" "Yes, world-honored one." "Does the Tathagata have the wisdom eye?" "Yes, world-honored one." "Does the Tathagata have the Dharma eye?" "Yes, world-honored one." "Does the Tathagata have the Buddha eye?" "Yes, world-honored one." The Buddha said, "Subhuti, regarding the grains of sand in the Ganges, does the Tathagata speak of them as sand?" "Yes, world-honored one." The Buddha said, "If there were as many Ganges rivers as there are grains of sand in the Ganges, and as many Buddha worlds as the grains of sand in all those rivers, would that be many?" Subhuti replied, "Very many, world-honored one." The Buddha said, "Subhuti, the minds of all beings in all those worlds, I know them all completely. Why? What the Tathagata calls mind is not truly mind. That is why it is called mind. Why, Subhuti? The past mind cannot be grasped. The present mind cannot be grasped. The future mind cannot be grasped." The Buddha said, "Subhuti, if someone used the 7 treasures to fill the 3,000-fold world system and gave them all away, would that person's merit be great?" Subhuti replied, "Very great, world-honored one." The Buddha said, "Subhuti, if that giving is done with attachment to a mark, the merit is conditioned and will one day be exhausted. But if a bodhisattva gives without dwelling on any mark, without seeking any reward, I say that merit is truly without limit." The Buddha said, "Subhuti, can the Tathagata be seen through a complete physical form?" Subhuti replied, "No, world-honored one. The Tathagata cannot be seen through his physical form. Why? What you call a complete physical form is not truly complete. That is only a name." The Buddha said, "Subhuti, can the Tathagata be seen through all his perfect marks?" Subhuti replied, "No, world-honored one. Why? What you call perfect marks are not truly perfect. They are only called perfect marks." The Buddha said, "Subhuti, do not think the Tathagata holds this thought. I shall teach the Dharma to beings. Do not think that way. Why? If someone says the Tathagata teaches a Dharma, that person slanders the Buddha. They have not understood what I say. Subhuti, what is called teaching the Dharma, has no fixed Dharma to teach. That is why it is called teaching the Dharma." At that moment, Subhuti asked, "World-honored one, will future beings, upon hearing this teaching, give rise to faith?" The Buddha said, "Subhuti, those beings are not truly beings, and they are not non-beings. Why? Subhuti, what the Tathagata calls beings are not truly beings. That is why they are called beings." Subhuti asked, "World-honored one, when you attained Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, was there truly nothing attained?" The Buddha replied, just so, Subhuti. I attained not even the slightest Dharma through Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. That is why it is called Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi." The Buddha continued, "Subhuti, This Dharma is equal and level. There is no high or low in it. That is why it is called Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. To cultivate all good dharmas without the idea of a self, a person, a being, or a lifespan. This is how Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi is attained. Subhuti, what are called good dharmas, are not truly good dharmas. That is why they are called good dharmas. The Buddha said, Subhuti, if someone used 7 treasures piled as high as all the Mount Meru in the 3,000-fold world system and gave them all away, and if another person received and upheld even 4 lines of this Prajna Paramita Sutra and taught them to others, the merit of the second person surpasses that of the first by 100-fold, 1,000-fold, 100,000 millionfold, beyond any calculation or comparison. The Buddha said, Subhuti, do not think that the Tathagata holds this thought. I shall liberate beings. Do not think that way, Subhuti. Why? There are truly no beings for the Tathagata to liberate. If there were, the Tathagata would be holding the ideas of self, person, being, and lifespan. Subhuti, when the Tathagata speaks of a self, there is in fact no self. Yet ordinary people take there to be a self. Subhuti, what the Tathagata calls ordinary people, are not truly ordinary people. That is why they are called ordinary people. The Buddha said, Subhuti, can the Tathagata be seen through the 32 marks? Subhuti replied, yes, the Tathagata can be seen through the 32 marks. The Buddha said, Subhuti, a wheel-turning king also possesses the 32 marks. Would that king then be the Tathagata? Subhuti said at once, World-honored one, I understand. The Tathagata cannot be seen through the 32 marks. At that moment the world-honored one spoke in verse. Those who seek me through form, those who seek me through sound, such people walk a wrong path. They cannot see the Tathagata. The Buddha said, Subhuti, do not think that the Tathagata attained Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi by not having the 32 marks. Do not think that way. Subhuti, do not think that one who gives rise to the mind of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi says, all dharmas are cut off and extinguished. Do not give rise to such an idea. Why? One who gives rise to the mind of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi does not say that all dharmas are annihilated. The path is to leave attachment to dharmas, not to abolish dharma entirely. The Buddha said, Subhuti, if a bodhisattva gives away 7 treasures filling worlds as countless as the grains of sand in the Ganges, and another bodhisattva knows that all dharmas have no self, and has attained patient acceptance of this truth, the merit of the second bodhisattva surpasses that of the first. Why, Subhuti? Because a bodhisattva does not receive merit. Subhuti asked, World-honored one, why does a bodhisattva not receive merit? The Buddha said, Subhuti, a bodhisattva gives without attachment, without craving for the fruit of giving. That is why I say a bodhisattva does not receive merit. The Buddha said, Subhuti, if someone says the Tathagata walks, stands, sits, or lies down, that person does not understand what I teach. Why? The Tathagata has not come from anywhere and does not go anywhere. That is why the Tathagata is called the Thus Come One. The Buddha said, Subhuti, if a good man or good woman ground the 3,000-fold world system into dust particles, would those particles be many? Subhuti replied, very many, world-honored one. Why? If the dust particles were truly real, the Buddha would not have called them dust particles. What the Tathagata calls dust particles are not truly dust particles. That is why they are called dust particles. And what the Tathagata calls the world is not truly a world. That is why it is called the world. Why? If the world were truly real, it would be a single unified thing. It could not be broken into dust. So even what you call a unified mark is not truly a unified mark. That is only a name. The Buddha said, Subhuti, a unified mark is beyond words, yet ordinary people clinging to things as real become attached to it. The Buddha said, Subhuti, if someone says the Buddha teaches the view of self, the view of person, the view of being, and the view of lifespan, Subhuti, does that person understand what I teach? Subhuti replied, no, world-honored one. That person does not understand. Why? What the Tathagata calls the view of self, person, being, and lifespan is not truly any such view. That is why they are called the view of self, person, being, and lifespan. The Buddha said, Subhuti, one who gives rise to the mind of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, should know all dharmas in this way, see them in this way, believe and understand them in this way, without giving rise to the idea of a dharma mark. Subhuti, what is called a dharma mark. The Tathagata says it is not a dharma mark. That is why it is called a dharma mark. The Buddha said, Subhuti, if someone filled countless world systems with the 7 treasures and gave them all away, and if a good man or good woman gave rise to the mind of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, received and upheld even 4 lines of this sutra, and taught them to others, the merit of the second person far surpasses that of the first. How should one teach this sutra to others? Without clinging, without attachment, with a mind that does not move. Why? All conditioned things are like dreams, like illusions, like bubbles, like shadows. They are like dewdrops, like flashes of lightning. See all things in this way. When the Buddha had finished speaking, the elder Subhuti, together with the monks, nuns, laymen, laywomen, and all gods, humans, and spirits in the assembly, hearing the Buddha's teaching, were filled with great joy. They accepted it with faith and put it into practice.